Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm your host, Tony Perkins. So good to have you with us as we mark this special day coming up this weekend, the 16th, Religious Freedom Day, as Dr. Dreisbach was just talking about. The best way to preserve and keep this freedom is to use this freedom, and the governor of Nebraska is encouraging that and applauding that. In fact, he has released his own declaration for Religious Freedom Day, and in that, he said the founders of the U.S. recognized the importance of religion to the health of our republic. They also knew that religion flourishes best when practiced without coercion. Throughout the pandemic, we've worked to protect religious freedom. We've seen other states that have treated houses of worship unfairly, keeping them shut. While many communities took extra precautions, the state never forced houses of worship to close in Nebraska. Listen to this. Churches and faith communities across the state are vital to helping keep people connected. I want to thank people of every faith who have been working to creatively keep their community connected during this difficult time. And joining us now to talk more about why he is promoting and protecting religious freedom in Nebraska is Governor Pete Ricketts. Governor, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate having me on. Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Happy New Year to you as well. And once again, you have been out with this proclamation. You did this again. You did this last year. Why is religious freedom, as a public official, why is it important to have a vibrant faith community?
Well, certainly, and as you mentioned already, our founders understood that it was important to have that moral foundation for us to be able to run our republic. And they established the freedom of religion, the First Amendment, for a reason. Of course, many of the folks who came here to this country came to escape religious persecution in other places. And so we want to cherish that. We want to make sure that people are not taking that for granted. We can see in other countries, you can see with the Chinese Communist Party, for example, putting Uyghurs in concentration camps, North Korean government putting Christians in labor camps and torturing them. We see, in Pakistan, forced conversion of religious minorities, with the government really not stepping in. And so we've got something that's special here in this country. We have to protect it. And we've seen through this pandemic that we really can't take it for granted. As you mentioned, other states have taken steps to treat a house of worship unfairly, really not recognizing the importance to the republic in general that religion plays, in addition to just, of course, our own spiritual development, but also the good work that religious organizations do. Here in Nebraska, for example, in our capital city of Lincoln, the People's City Mission was founded by a group of churches. It's still the leading homeless shelter in the state. You've got, of course, the very famous Boys Town, founded by Catholic priest Father Flanagan. You've got B'nai B'rith, the Omaha Jewish Foundation, all these groups doing really good public works. And then, of course, finally, just through this pandemic, the connectivity that religious organizations have provided at a time when it's very difficult for us to stay connected. And that just helps out our overall mental well-being in the state. So with all these important reasons that the freedom of religion is just vital to our republic, we felt it was important to continue to recognize that and really remind people that we cannot take it for granted.
Well, Governor Ricketts, I think you've laid out two really broad categories. One is a principled approach, which is foundational to our country, as you said, to the republic, the rights of religious freedom, but a practical approach. And I think governors like yourself, who have seen the faith community as a partner as opposed to someone who gets in your way, there's a very practical element here where you can work alongside the faith community. It can actually make government work more efficiently.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, really, again, the principle part's important, but it also leads to a very pragmatic outcome with the general well-being of civil society. And that's one of the reasons, for example, when we received the CARES Act money that we received from the federal government as part of the whole program, we established about $80 million in aid to nonprofit and community organizations from food banks, child care providers, but also including houses of worship to be able to help offset some of the costs and make sure, really thinking about trying to stabilize them through this pandemic. I mean, a lot of people may not think about it, but just as small businesses were struggling because of the restrictions that were put in place because of the pandemic, so were religious organizations, many unable to take that weekly collection plate or do fundraising. And so we wanted to make sure that we were doing our part of the state to help them survive this pandemic because we really recognize the important role they play in our civil society.
Governor Ricketts, are you troubled by some of the trends we see in our country, this growing hostility to the exercise of religious freedom?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very dangerous trend that's been going on for some time in our country. You know, there's this phrase out there, separation of church and state, which is completely not the meaning that our founders envisioned when they wrote the First Amendment of our Constitution. Freedom of religion doesn't mean freedom from religion. They absolutely believe that our religious foundation, our morals, our beliefs had a place in the public square. In fact, we're supposed to be expressed in the public square. We weren't supposed to exclude our religious beliefs. The First Amendment was really about making sure that the state didn't promote one particular religion or establish a state religion, but not to exempt all religions from participating. And I think that some have taken this to believe that we should, eliminate religion entirely from our public discourse, and it's absolutely not the case. In fact, again, our founders absolutely believe it is fundamental that we continue to talk about our religious principles and that we have them to be able to keep our republic. And that's why, we felt it's so important for us to recognize religious freedom, remind people not to take it for granted, and certainly, again, through this pandemic, we've seen some very dangerous attitudes in some of the states toward religion where, liquor stores, for example, were allowed to stay open when religious organizations were not. It just seems crazy.
It certainly does, but I and many, many others are grateful for your leadership, Governor Ricketts, in providing an example to other governors and other leaders that, look, the faith community can be a great partner. You just need to protect their rights as you do everyone else's. Governor, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate having me on.
Absolutely. Governor Pete Ricketts of Nebraska. I just think that if more elected officials would realize, this can actually make my job easier by working with a community of people who part of their whole DNA is to serve and to help. It's a big part of what the church wants to do. I've seen it over and over, believe me. In Louisiana, where we've had many, many storms, the governors that have worked with the church have produced a lot better results. All right, when we come back, Dr. Bob Fu, Senior Fellow here for International Religious Freedom at FRC, joins us to talk about religious freedom internationally, why it's important, why it needs to be a priority. That's next here on Washington Watch. Don't go away.